saw the Chelsea guys. I know, I will take advantage.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we do. Congratulations, fellow proctors.
What it says, but I can send it to you.
We know the definitions of woman.
I think it's.
We know. Babies are not racist.
Oh, I understand. I mean, the whole thing is actually,
Yeah.
just like the Paris. In the past, they had done things that the government. And it's the part of the freeway downtown.
Oh, yeah.
I've never stopped.
Yeah.
And things like that, it's just a lot more serious.
Okay.
than
They should, that's right. Say, do something about it.
yeah, Rockefeller Castle. It's a client facing service, I guess.
I'll tell you, my friend gave me a question. Which was one of her like more mature. My mother saw it was reading it. I knew this week. You really read everything. It was super fudge. And she was and she was like, oh, no. That's what parents do. Parents have to look at it and go, no.
My mother did the same.
I saw the, on the South Lawn, you mean?
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. She's no dummy. It's your Rebecca. Really?
Maybe you take it, or you. Yeah. If you've already done with.
Oh, you said something.
Very skilled.
That's all right. So,
And hypocritical. I'm still.
yes.
What is this? Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, right. Okay, so we got the schmuck. Yeah. No, what's our time? Is it time? All right, you slackers, it is time.
Yeah.
And Joe.
Not to look at Jesus. Sometimes I like
Shabbat Shalom to everyone in here, everyone out there, and everyone around the world. We welcome our visitors to Congregation Kol Ami, and we're here to welcome and celebrate the Sabbath, 1 day in 7 that God has given the Jewish people to rest and to recuperate, refresh ourselves, and to renew our relationship with God and our relationship with the world. So we're going to begin, as is custom in many congregations, with what is called the nigun, that is a wordless melody. Now, this is not one that you may be familiar with, but we encourage you to get the hang of it and join in with us and experience it, because music is the, the thing that conveys us to the higher realms. So we'll start with the Nigun, and then we'll move on to check in the community.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yalel, Yalel, Eli, Yalel, 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 Eli. Havanetze b'machol, havanetze b'mcholot, havanetze b'machol, havanetze b'mcholot, havanetze b'machol, havanetze b'mcholot, havanetze b'machol, havanetze b'mcholot. Yalel, 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 Eli, Yalel, 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 Eli. Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila v'nishmecha. Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila v'nishmecha. Hava neranena, Hava neranena, Hava neranena v'nishmecha. Hava neranena, Hava neranena, Hava neranena v'nitzmecha. Uru achim b'lev sameach, uru achim b'lev sameach, uru achim b'lev sameach, uru achim b'lev sameach. Havanetze b'machol, havanetze b'mcholot, havanetze b'machol, havanetze b'mcholot.
So let's start out with a little community check-in here and see how everyone's doing. We begin with some of the things we know are happening in our community. We have anniversaries. For example, Denny and Lori Applebaum. I performed their marriage 16, 17 years ago. So that's one I can claim. James and Deborah Greenberg, Vikas and Aaron Aurora, and the ever stalwart Howard and Maggie Watts. So a mazel tov to all of them. As for birthdays, we've got Linza Chitsi, we've got Mark Messing, Dr. Mark Messing, Virginia Ring, Eric Kaplan, Marcella Novick, and James Ulanowski, also a doctor, Dr. James. So who here has a good and blessing to report? I'll start off. Sometimes, you know, as I've said many times before, a good blessing is a negative. And I had my neck carved on, and it is a total negative. They got to remove everything that was considered cancerous, and life is good. And now I have this little Frankenstein monster thing going on, which is kind of cool too. And I'm doing just great. Who else has a good and blessing? Let's start over on this side. Paul.
I had some really great news with health. One of my
Yes, that was a little bit scary, but that's wonderful that she's thriving again. Hannah.
I got nominated to represent the history department at UNT as a student ambassador.
You are a student ambassador for history. Wow. So that's almost as if you were history. But you're not. That's good. And yeah, Toby.
I'm just very happy about Katanji.
Oh, yes, of course. We are very proud of our new and groundbreaking member of SCOTUS, though I don't think she gets to take her seat until Breyer retires, right? So, but it is very exciting. I agree. Yes, Melissa.
Madeline got her driver's license and is now driving herself to and from school.
And as far as you're concerned, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking, right? All right. How about on this side of the room? Anybody have anything to report? No, everything's just copacetic. That's right. All right. Well, what's that? Oh, yes.
I'm glad to report publicly that my wife and I, after 34 years of marriage, decided to give it another try.
Okay.
And I am tremendously honored to have her in my life.
Oh,
And because she's not only beautiful outside, she's gorgeous inside. And I love you very much. And accept my apologies for misbehaving sometimes.
okay. Well, not quite Yom Kippur, but we're impressed with you too. How about that? So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kindle the lights of Shabbat and welcome the Sabbath in our midst. I'm going to ask Joanne Barnes to lead us. We're going to be on page 1 of our prayer book, page 1.
In the beginning, when the Spirit of God hovered over the darkness, God's first creation was light. As we kindle these Shabbat lights, we attest to the majesty of God's work and rejoice in its beauty. Light is a symbol of divinity and creative goodness. It is the outward sign of that inner spark which God has granted each of us. In hope and with love, we now welcome Shabbat with light. See this. Not liking it.
Of course,
Do this
you have to
one.
go to the manual.
You have to do the old fashioned
Yep.
way.
It worked for our grandma.
True. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'halel ner shel Shabbat. Praised are you, Adonai, whose presence fills the world, who hallows us with mitzvot and inspires us to kindle Shabbat lights. May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace.
Amen. Yashikor. Thank you. Turn that on. That's too noisy. Now we continue with Kabbalat Shabbat. We welcome the Sabbath into our midst with a special section added just on Friday nights. And we're going to begin with Psalm 95 on page 2. Lechune Ranina.
Lechune
Ranina, lechune ranina, lechune ranina, l'Adonai. Lechune ranina, lechune ranina, lechune ranina, l'Adonai. Naria letzur yishenu, nigma fana betoda.
Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, bizmirot aria halo. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai.
Psalm 96 in the middle of the page. Yismechu hashemayim v'targel haaretz. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exalt. Let the sea and all within it thunder. The fields and everything in them exalt. And then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its peoples faithfully. Psalm 97. Adonai reigns, let the land exalt and the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds surround God. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne. God's lightning illumines the world, and light is sown for the righteous and radiance for the upright of heart. O you who are righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name. Psalm 99, Ramemu. Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu har kodsho. Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lahar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Ramemu.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו. Psalm 29. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod v'oz, havu l'Adonai kavod shemo, hishtachavu l'Adonai v'hadrat kodesh. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Ascribe to Adonai, you children of God. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Worship Adonai in the beauty of holiness. May Adonai give strength to this people. May Adonai bless this people with peace. We go now to Lecha Dodi, and let's see, I think we're going to ask Richard and the ever-present Don to be our ushers to welcome in the Sabbath. For our guests on the final stanza, we will all stand up, face the door, and welcome the Sabbath in. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ברינה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה, לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
So come in peace, you crown of your husband, with rejoicing and with joy, to those who are faithful, a treasured people. Come, O bride, come, O Shabbat. Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Layom HaShabbat, a psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to give thanks to Adonai and to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak and your faithfulness each night, with a harp, with voice and lyre in unison. Sadik katamar yifrach, v'kerez v'lebanon yizgeh, and the righteous shall bloom like a palm. They shall thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Hatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה.
Amen.
ועלמא יברך חירותה וימליך מלכותה בחייכון אוהב יומייכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמך מבורך לעולם לעולמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהלל ויתהדר ויתעלה שמת קודשה בריחו לאלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן ועלמה ואמרו amen.
Whether it be in body or in spirit, please rise.
רבנן ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma potech sharim u'vituna mishane etim u'machalif et hazmanim u'msader et hakokavim v'mishmerotehem barakia kirotzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'hoshech mipnei or u'mavir yom u'mevi layla u'mavdil ben yom u'ven layla Adonai Tzibaot Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Vayed, Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim. May God govern us always to the end of time. Praised are you, Adonai, who makes the evening fall. Ahavat Olam. An ending too is your love for your people, the house of Israel. Torah, mitzvot, laws, and precepts you have taught us. And therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days. And then your love shall never depart from our hearts. Blessed is Adonai, who loves this people Israel.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated, and if you would like, please participate in the Via Hafta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Emet ve'emunah. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good, and beautiful is this eternal teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, shield of our salvation. Adonai, our God, you redeemed us from Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this, the people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you. Living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud, raises the lowly, who frees the captive and redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out. All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing, and like Moses and Israel, we sing this song of rejoicing. Micha Mocha.
Yababam bam bam bararam yalalai lai 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 yababam bam bam bararam yalalai mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot oseh pele nora tehilot oseh pele mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot oseh pele tehilot oseh pele.
Hashkivenu, we come now to the end of the day and we offer a prayer for our own security and peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Grant that we should lie down tonight in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up, O sovereign, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace, guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague, keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our own inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. And O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. We come now to the next part of our service, tefillah. Once again, if able, I invite you to please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach, ofi yagi teilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu, v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אהרון ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה רב ומושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated, everyone. And we're going to continue by honoring Shabbat on page 21 with the second song on the page, Yismechu B'malchutecha.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת. עם מקדשי שלי שבת, כולם ישמעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת. ובשביל רצית בו, וקידשתו חמדת ימים, אותו קראת זכר למעשה בראשית. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת.
Great say, Adonai our God, show favor towards your people Israel and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable to you, for you alone do we hold in reverence. Modim. And we give thanks to you, Adonai our God and God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation for all generations. And so we thank you and we recite your praises. Let all the living affirm you and praise your name as the God of our salvation and help. Praised are you, Adonai. Goodness is your name. All praises to you. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha l'chan ne'elodot. We're going to close out this part of our service with our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, on page 23. And then we're going to just take a few moments of our own silent prayers and meditations. So, Shalom Rav, everybody.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל לעמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל לעמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Thank you, my friend. So, as is my new custom, I like to go get a bagel on Friday mornings at Starship Bagels. Robin and I went this morning and get ourselves a bagel and a schmear and a cup of coffee. And there I was shocked. I was stunned. I never expected to see this happen in Louisville. I never expected to see this happen in anywhere in Denton County. There was a sign on the front door and it's read, Starship Bagels will be closed April 16th to April 26th in observance of Passover. I have never, ever expected to actually see a store close for Passover. My mind was blown. I mean, the Messiah must be right around the corner. And then I started thinking about it and I realized it said April 26th. And I was like, wait, that's 10 days. Much longer than the actual 7 or 8 days that most Jews observe the holiday. And I just had to ask. And it turns out Oren needed a little extra time to do some upkeep. He's been busy. He's neglected things. So he's going to shut the place down on Passover and he's going to keep working on it for a couple more days before he comes back. I get it. But adding what's already required to the Torah, that's not an unfamiliar experience for us. It's been happening since the very beginning of Judaism. Now, last week, while doing my Pesach shopping, I was stunned to see on the shelves kosher for Passover olive oil. My mind immediately went to the question, how can olive oil not be kosher for Passover? But my train of thought was derailed when I saw the price. It was $30 for a little bottle of olive oil. Not just adding to what the Torah requires, but price gouging you for the privilege of having it extended. So from biblical times, the Torah has always asked us to make material sacrifices for our faith. But it goes to pain. I go to pains to point out to people how it never asks the devout to have to spend beyond their means. Offering a ram as an offering is great. if you can afford it. But if you can't, a turtle dove will do. And for the very poor, a handful of grain or a piece of matzah is plenty. This is enshrined in rabbinic rhetoric. Twice in the Talmud, we are told the Torah is sparing with the money of the Jewish people. And it's an expression that repeats itself over and over again, countless times throughout rabbinic literature, when the people needed some leniency in order to observe our sacred times and holidays. Being an engaged Jew is not meant to be a financial burden. So tonight, I hope you are prepared. I hope you are comfortable. I hope you're feeling alert, and I hope you're feeling awake, because tonight is Shabbat Hagadol. Shabbat Hagadol literally means the Great Shabbat, which is the Shabbat before Passover. And traditionally, it is the time for the longest sermon of the year. All right? All right. So I, as a rabbi, have absolute latitude to talk to you about Pesach in every shade and color you want, and I'm just going to keep going. Why, you might wonder, a long sermon to prepare for Passover? Well, there's a lot to do to get ready, especially to prepare for the special food rules that govern for the holiday for 7 or 8 days that don't apply to any other days of the week throughout the year. Hopefully you have not left the last minute shopping for your Passover goods like I have, especially here in Flower Mound. As I've discovered, stores have failed to stock matzah. Anybody see any anywhere? Oh, down in Capel? All right, so now we know, down in Capel. All right, first let me say, I myself practice a limited form of kashrut, and that includes Pesach. While there are certain must-haves for my household, matzah, of course, matzah meal, a couple of kosher for Passover cake mixes, and some foods with certain power associations like gefilte fish, those little raspberry jelly chocolate rings, and those fruit slices that are really all pure sugar. That's really Avi's favorite. I mostly use ordinary products throughout the grocery stores. It's enough that they don't contain cereal products as far as I'm concerned. Moreover, at the dentist's house, we eat kitniot, things that Ashkenazi Jews, Jews from Europe, generally are supposed to avoid during the holiday, like beans and rice. I have two rationales for this leniency I give myself. One, the production of strictly kosher for Pesach food is, in full honesty, a price gouging racket. I'm sorry, it violates the rabbinical tradition of not making a burden upon the Jewish people. I'm sorry to speak disparagingly about other Jewish communities and other practices, but kosher for Passover olive oil? Seriously? Kosher for Passover potato chips? Kosher for Passover borscht? Kosher for Passover hand sanitizer? Kosher for Passover oven cleaner? I mean, it's just a marketing nightmare. Seriously, the kosher industrial complex has taken the Ashkenazi anxiety about what we would call in rabbinic terms safek, things that might somehow, some way be doubtful. Maybe a rice cake was accidentally dropped into a vat of olive oil by some thoughtless Gentile worker somewhere around the world and leveraged that into a multi-million-dollar money-making industry. Pesach has never been meant to fleece the finances of the Jewish people. And so I limit myself on this. Secondly, why do we need to keep adding more and more stringencies beyond the Torah and its primary source of interpretation, the Talmud? It is obvious that rice and beans, much less corn oil, are not leavening agents or subject to leavening. The Sephardic Orthodox authorities have understood this for centuries. Rather than looking for a reason to restrict, to forbid, or to ban, in good faith, the Sephardic Gedolim, the great ones of the Sephardic tradition, look to permit, to allow, and to ease the burden of the holiday. A strange example of this is the notion that circulates in Ashkenazi tradition that leaven can, quote unquote, reawaken. That even if you have thoroughly cleansed your house, you can't let your guard down, even for a moment, because the leaven that you neutralized at the beginning of the week will somehow return like zombies and stalk your food supply and be in your kitchen. And by midweek, they're tainting pots and pans and produce, and we're all doomed. It's the end of the universe. But this week is not just about buying and cooking Passover foods. It is actually meant to be a spiritual preparation and a readiness. And that's where I think we should put our energy. The Torah bids us to eat unleavened bread during Passover to remind us of how we left Egypt so hastily that the dough supposedly did not have time to rise. And the book of Exodus instructs us that chametz neither should be eaten nor be in our house during Pesach. Fair enough. Like many things Jewish, the rabbis later came to detail the process. How does one get rid of chametz? And the search for chametz, the seeking out of leavening in the house, came to be a ritual. And it involves a careful cleaning of places where food is eaten and stored, a spring cleaning of all sorts. And the search then is performed in a ceremonial way, an investigation of nooks and crannies by candlelight the night before the Seder. It is, in fact, a gesture of spiritual readiness. We are actually instructed, like a game of Clue, to set out 10 little piles of leaven products around the house, crumbs really, and ritually hunt them down, sweep them up, burn them, and recite a formula that declares all for the chametz in our house for the rest of the holiday null and like the dust of the earth. Zehu, you're done. It's all over with. It's not going to reawaken. All right, I'll tell you why. Any naturalist will tell you that natural yeast lives everywhere, all the time, constantly, always. The idea that you can perfectly purge yeast and other leavening agents from any place on earth, even for a day, is biologically impossible. Maybe in a lab, but never in a kitchen. So what we are doing, what the ancient rabbis knew we were doing with the ritual, was a kind of spiritual purification, performed out and acted as Jews always do, not an actual physical purification. Intention, we have to realize, is sometimes more important than the reality. We create our own reality for 7 or 8 days, right? We are declaring ourselves prepared and ready to relive the Exodus, and this ritual is a concrete way to express that we are free Jews. We choose not to eat a certain thing for a week, even if that spiritual intent is a practical impossibility. Rabbi Daniel Hartman in Israel writes, the distinctiveness of Pesach lies not in its unique rituals, but that it answers the question of who is a Jew. The exodus of Egypt was the founding moment of the Jewish people. We begin as a people, even though we had no land, we had no resources, we had no Torah. The majority were of little faith. What constituted our collective identity was our decision to affirm our membership in the people of Israel. And we did that multiple ways. We put blood on the lentils of our house. We sacrificed this animal and ate it over the night. And we started to abstain from eating leavened bread during that time. The things we choose to eat and not eat helps us feel Jewishly, literally, right down to our kishkis. And that's the experience. So on this great Shabbat, and in the week ahead, ask yourself in your cleaning and your getting ready for the holiday, how will you remove your chametz? How will your Passover experience be different from the rest of the year? And how will you use it to recharge your Jewish identity? How will you relive an ancient story in your mind, in your spirit, and in your body? How will you open the door once again to your Jewish identity and to look into your Jewish future? That's what the holiday is about. That's what it means to remove the leaven from your life. L'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim. May we all next year be in Jerusalem, whether spiritually or literally. We can make a trip happen. Once we were slaves, and now we are free. It is the greatest story ever told. You should retell it again and again. There is much merit in it. I wish you all Chag Sameach, a most joyful Passover festival ahead. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. All right, and now it's the guy whose office I'm not supposed to speak of. He's kind of the Voldemort of officers of the congregation, and he's going to do announcements. Paul, come on up.
Okay, so we have Mitzvah Day this Sunday, April 10th, from 1 until 5, and there'll be activities for all activity levels. You know, if you're move a little slower like me, there's stuff to do. If you're young and strong, we can put you to work in the yard. This is really going to be a time to clean up the temple. We're moving on post-COVID, and the same. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. It's just a perfect time to do spring cleaning. It's not too late to sign up. Please RSVP. We can find something for you to do, and it's going to be a lot of fun too. Your community will be there. I'd appreciate you all turning out. There's also going to be a community Seder, the second night of second Seder, April 16th at 6 p.m. at CKA. Sisterhood is hosting a potluck. Everybody in the community is invited. Please RSVP using the link on the website. Let them know the number of guests that are coming. And this will be a dairy-free event. But again, another time for our community to come together and share. We have a yarn lovers block party coming up, which I am just really super excited about. I really caught on to this. So they're going to actually yarn bomb trees around the temple. I've seen some pictures. It's going to be awesome. I hope we get some new news coverage. Please reach out to Robin Dennis or Melissa Trapani to RSVP and to get more details. There's also going to be kind of a low-key flea market, right? And so it's just going to be a lot of fun. And that is going to be the weekend of 4/22 through 4/24. Yep. And then again, Tikkun Olam, they're one of the most active committees at the temple, is collecting used pill bottles. And they're actually reused in developing countries. I had no idea this was a thing. But when you think about how many pill bottles we all throw away, and that they can be used for good for people that need it, just remove the labels, wash and rinse thoroughly. There's a milk crate in the lobby, and it's just a really nice thing you can do for people that doesn't cost you anything. And that is our announcements, I think, unless there's one snuck on the back here. Let me see. Spring collard green. Stephen would be upset if I didn't read this. Nifty, Texas, Oklahoma region is hosting an in-person spring collard, the weekend retreat at URJ Green Family Camp, the weekend of Friday, April 22nd through Sunday, April 24th. This is a teen-powered weekend open to all participants, grades 8 through 12. Join us for a retreat full of exciting programs, meaningful tefillah experiences, and lots of camp fun with new and old friends. And you can all of this you can get, as you know, on the web, all the details. So, Back page. Okay. So we'll say a blessing. May the ones who blessed our ancestors also bless Harry Anthony, Joyce Bloom, Natalie Bovino, Sandy Cook, Mark Davis, Michelle Griffith, Jody Hoffman, Carol Jones, Molly Kalig, Joseph Katz, Deb Kaufman, Toby Kennedy, Lauren Koenig, is that correct? Yeah. Alex Koenig, Gianna LaMonica, Deb Ledden, Phyllis Lorelli, Shirley Lunsford, Paul Redwood Jr., Sandy Garber Rubin, Adrian Sandler, Myra Schuschler, Dave Seaver, Happy Waterman, and Hilal Miriam Zayona.
Hilal Miriam Zion. Yeah.
Okay. So is there anyone else that we'd like to, I'll start over here. Any other names of people in need of healing?
Don Coleman, Pat Hayward, Shirley Gator, Tom Holiday, Harry Jefferson, Sharon Weinberg, Deb Wilson, and Dr. Jerry Wilson.
Thank you.
Me.
Ross Omra.
Thank you. We bring them together and hold them in our hearts. And someone's going to have to help me with this
I
Mishabera.
can help you.
Mishabera avotenu mikor habraha imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing.
And
Let us say, Amen. Mishebera imotenu mikor habraha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
got a better voice than I do. What are you complaining about? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see, who am I gonna call on? I think I'm gonna call on Richard. Richard, would you come up and open the ark with me? We're gonna be on page 82 for the Elenu. Please rise if you're able. Elenu, everyone.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושבי קרוב השמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בחשבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד.
Thank you. Good job. Bayom
Ahu, bayom ahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad.
The leaves fall from afar, and they fall with slow and lingering descent. And in the night, the heavy earth too falls from out of the stars and into the solitude. Thus all must fall. This hand of mine must fall, and lo, the other too. It is the law. But there is one who holds the falling infinitely softly in his hand, in her hands. And so it is we recall with love and appreciation the names of those we have recently lost, as well as those whose anniversaries of death occur this week. For Shiva, we're thinking specifically of Tomar Morad, Eitam Magini, and Barak Leffen, all victims of terrorism in Israel who died this week. We also include among them all the victims of war around the world, people whose lives have been terminated prematurely. Is there anyone else who has the name of someone who's died in the last week they would like to share with us? Is there anybody who has someone in Shloshim? Anybody who's lost a loved one in the last 30 days? Here at our congregation, we honor these yard sites of people connected to our community. Irving Bahar, Dr. Eileen Behrman, Constance Mary Ferraro, Virginia Giller, Grace Esther Edith Schroeder Gladfelter, Mitzi Greenfeld, Albert Rubel, Harry Rubin, Morris Tabor, Richard Tavano, Doris Weinberg, Molly Willikin, and Tilly Wishnow. Is there anyone else observing an anniversary of death? We want to honor the memory of all these people. We want, wait, oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yosef ben Chacham Meir.
We want to honor all these people, and we want to show our sympathy for those who mourn for them by standing together and on page 85 reciting Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei b'chol beit Yisrael bagalal u'bizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitormam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'rithu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba mim shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu yasei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and comfort all the bereaved among us. And let us say,
Amen.
Please be seated. All right. So for our closing song, we are going to do something that may not be terribly familiar to you, but our youth people know this because it's sung in youth camps and youth groups all over the country. If you go down to the bottom of the little sheet we gave you, you will find V'hayer ilneinu, which is, and would you purify our hearts or enlighten our eyes for your Torah, that our hearts may cleave to it. And it's a familiar tune. Some of you may have heard it. And that's going to be our closing song for tonight.
והערננו בתורתך, ובדק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבנו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד. והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש ולא נתעלם, שלא ניכשל לעולם ועד. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So for our guests, you're not done. The service is not over with till you've eaten something. So you all have to come to our little fellowship afterward. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.